Hi, everyone. This is Sam Collins, the coding and billing expert from H.J. Ross, and a big welcome and thank you for coming in to spend some time with us on the ChiroSecure Growth Without Risk program. I'm real thankful to ChiroSecure, but of course to you for giving us this opportunity. And as I'm sure for most of you, you really love the profession of chiropractic as I do, because I'm not sure if many of you are aware, but not only am I a chiropractic college graduate and a chiro, so was my father. So I'm quite a legacy. And in fact, in my 58 years of life, there's been nothing else but chiropractic that has been the breadwinner for my home, including my father and for myself. So it's a great chance for me to be with you and give you some new information on what's going on and what's changing. As I'm sure many of you are aware, of course, Veterans Choice is a good paying program, but there are some changes, particularly for those that are on the West Coast, or excuse me, on the East Coast and Midwest areas. So let's talk about this Veterans Choice program, what's going on if you're not aware. The Veterans Choice Program is one of several programs that VA uses to provide care for veterans to the community of providers. What this means is outside providers. As many of you are likely aware, sometimes it's very difficult to get an appointment at the VA. And so you'll see here it says, and the VA cannot provide care in a timely manner to the nearest VA facility. What they're doing is allowing patients to choose outside providers in this network. And it says here in the second bullet, if you are a community provider interested in joining or in providing care for veterans, you must establish a contract through two parties, either through Triwest or through a company called Healthnet. Now, I want to be careful. Healthnet is about to go bye-bye at the end of September. So we have two networks you have to join, whether through Triwest or through Healthnet. Now, one of the things a lot of providers are aware of or think they're aware of is that in order to do Veterans Choice, you have to belong to Medicare. While the Veterans Choice Protocol does follow somewhat Medicare guidelines, it does not require participation. In fact, here is a letter from the VA that indicates Medicare participation requirement is way for chiropractor as well as acupuncturist. So you notice here, for a chiropractor to join, you simply must hold a full and current unrestricted chiropractic license in the state where you're going to provide services. So you do not need to belong to Medicare to join this, but bear in mind, in order to treat a veteran, you must be part of the program. Now, why would you want to treat this? These are veterans. Patients who need your care often have chronic pain, and quite frankly, it pays exceptionally well, which I'll demonstrate to you in just a moment. Now, to be eligible for the VCP, so-called Veterans Choice Program, you must accept Medicare rates. Now, the rates paid under the VA Choice Program, for the most part, are going to be Medicare rates. However, you will notice in some underserved areas, you can have considerably much higher rates of return, if you will, on the code. So it depends on the area, but for the most part, Medicare. Now, it pays beyond Medicare, however. It doesn't pay just for manipulation, but for exams and therapies. You must meet the Medicare conditions for coverage, meaning you have to be able to treat a patient, obviously, be in compliance with applicable federal and state regulations, have the similar credentials as a VA staff. In other words, be a licensed chiropractor. And then one of the things, you have to submit a copy of medical records for care on the VA, meaning when you bill a VA patient, on the very first visit, you must send records, and on the very final visit, you must send. And then, of course, you must be eligible according to the Department of U.S. Health. In other words, make sure if you have student loans, they're current, because obviously one of the things that you can be non-eligible under Medicare and this would be if you have some issues with student loans. Now, the Veterans Choice Program has two programs. You'll often hear another program called PC3. PC3, to participate in VCP, they're essentially the same. You're automatically eligible whichever one you join, so realize you're going to be in either network. Now, how does this work? How do veterans come into your office? Well, it coordinates veterans, and the reason for this choice is a veteran will have difficulty in getting appointment. If a veteran cannot get an appointment within 30 days to a chiropractor at their VA facility, they're automatically allowed to come in, or 30 days within the time that they would like to be seen. Now, realistically, it's going to be certainly much shorter. There are many VA facilities that do have chiropractic providers. However, the backlog for appointments are so far that generally almost everyone's going to be eligible for this. So all they have to do is contact and say, I want to see a chiropractor. Obviously, when one is not available at the VA facility, they simply can choose a provider of their choice, assuming that provider is within the network. And that becomes the important part for us. You have to make sure you're in the network so that the patient can choose you or they can refer to you. Now, here's other reasons it can be as well. If the veteran lives more than 40 miles away, if they travel, and that means to the VA facility, if they have to travel by air, that may not seem like much, but if you're in Hawaii or potentially in an outlying area such as Alaska and there's no place close, that certainly gives the access. Or there's an excessive burden in traveling as well. And there's specific healthcare needs for frequency and care. In other words, it's really a choice. And I think I applaud our federal government in starting this program way back with President Bush and continuing under the last two administrations that allow veterans a choice to get somewhere, because most veterans aren't aware that they have this program because they generally have been so frustrated with the VA system on just getting appointments. So now they have an access to it, but we need to make them aware of it. Now, the two places you go to for this are through a company called Triwest and Healthnet. They both manage what's called the VCP and PC3 networks. For the most part, Triwest is going to be your West Coast and Southwest, like through Texas, California, Washington, Hawaii. And Healthnet's going to be your upper Midwest and East Coast. So I've given two websites here you can go to, but frankly, I'll make it real simple. If you're looking to get into the VA Choice program, type in VA Choice Triwest or VA Choice Healthnet, and I guarantee that Google search will take you right to the one, and you simply want to join and get involved. Now, one thing, and this was one of the reasons to do this one today, is Healthnet, this company, is no longer going to support the VA Choice after September 30th, meaning October 1st and after, it's going to be under a new provider. Bear in mind, Healthnet kind of made a mess of this, and a lot of providers became very frustrated. So therefore, they just simply lost the contract. It does not mean that the patients no longer have VA Choice. It simply is not managed through Healthnet. So for those of you doing Healthnet, bear in mind the VA contract with Healthnet ends September 30th. That means no more visits from them after September 30th. You may continue to bill for services through September 30th, but after visits on October 1st or later, you're going to go through the community network, which is the local VA. So bear in mind, Healthnet does go away October 1st technically, but you may still be owed money. Okay. Bear in mind also in the last note here says the end of the VA contract with Healthnet does not affect Triwest. So Triwest not affected at all. Continue to do the same you have been always, but Healthnet will be changing. So you have to be willing to be a VCP provider, obviously, and you'll work directly with VA facilities. So now you're going to go through what's called the community network. Once you're in that community network, you simply, of course, just like the VA does now with Healthnet, continue to bill. My suggestion is to get on board, make sure that they have your information. I'm not trusting that everything's going to be transferred from Healthnet, so please check with your local VA office because they'll be the ones handling it. Healthnet will not provide reimbursement for services after September 30th. So if you have an authorization through Healthnet, it's not good after September 30th. Hopefully and likely they should have only given you authorizations from that date. Any dates after that are going to be through the local VA facility. All you have to do is go to the VA website for Veterans Choice, and that will give you all the areas, the phone numbers, and so forth to call. Now, one thing that you have is make sure the billing is sent timely. So for those that are dealing with Healthnet, you have 90 calendar days to submit a claim. So if September 30th is your last date, remember you have October, November, December. If you start submitting claims in December for services done in September, they're going to deny it. They generally have been more generous than that and have allowed us to bill further back, but I'm not going to trust that. So my rule is patient comes in, submit the claim. Now, for all VA Choice, and this includes whether it's Healthnet or otherwise, all initial care under the VA Choice program must have prior authorization. And this is where confusion comes in. They will definitely pay for chiropractic services, but you will receive a direct authorization from the VA Choice itself, meaning Triwest, Healthnet, or the new provider being the community care networks. So bottom line is you must have authorization. You'll receive it generally by fax. However, I've had a few offices that have been emailed. You may also request the care, but my suggestion is the initial request, please make sure the patient does it. Have them contact directly to VA Choice, indicate they're having chronic back pain or something of that nature, and they would like to see a chiropractor, and they should name you because you're familiar with them. And so long as you're on the list, VA has been very good about allowing that patient to come in. The nice thing about this VA Choice program is there's no out-of-pocket cost to the veteran. It's zero, no deductibles, no co-payments. But the fee allowance is essentially based on Medicare. Now, they do allow more than just an adjustment. They allow exams, adjustments, and believe it or not, manual therapy and massage. You can get additional services, but they have to be authorized. Assuming you're doing an exam along with treatment, that's a good $150 to $180 visit, depending on services. And then follow-up visits certainly can be the same, meaning that you're going to bill for the treatment. So I would assume most chiros that are billing VA Choice are generally doing 2 or 3 units or services per visit, which is about a $90 reimbursement. Not bad when there's no out-of-pocket for the patient. Now, one thing to keep in mind if you're billing VA Choice, and this gets a lot of providers, is not doing it properly. And what I mean by that is billing and coding. You do not need to use an AT modifier for the adjustment code. However, please note here, physical medicine services, whether from hot packs, though don't bill hot packs, through the unlisted services, require GP. GP is the modifier that Medicare uses for a physical therapy service plan. So whenever you're billing a physical medicine services, you must have a GP. If you don't bill the GP, automatically denied. So I get a lot of offices calling saying, I got denied. And the reason? Just simply didn't put a GP. So if that's the reason you've been denied, rebill it. Put a GP, you'll get paid. One thing to do also for Veterans Choice, make sure your chart notes are set with the initial visit. They want to see your exam, the first visit. You're not required to do one every visit or send the notes, but then at the final visit, please include your notes again. And if you're requesting additional care, you certainly may. And considering that the patient can still improve and you can show functional changes, they generally will allow more. I seldom have had offices that have been denied for additional services, though most are confused as to how they authorize services. So let me give you a look at the standard of care under the VA. You'll notice at the top here, it says for the first year or 365 days, you get 12 visits per year. Now, I really want to emphasize you're going to get 12 visits generally. That's the start. You can request more, assuming the patient is improving and has not reached maximum medical improvement. But I really want to emphasize not only just this factor, but a couple of things about it. So I want to highlight here what the expectations are of a VA patient. And it says the expectations of a service for chiropractic treatment include significant durable pain intensity decrease. What does this refer to? Not I feel better, but something significant on the pain scale. Bear in mind, that's generally 3 points though. So if your patient goes from a 5 to a 4, I won't say that that's better, but that's really not going to be reflective of a major change. So not saying that you shouldn't focus on pain, please focus on section B. Functional improvement demonstrated by clinically meaningful improvement on validated disease-specific outcome instruments. Meaning, please, on a VA patient, use oswestries, neck disability, general pain index, but some sort of index that allows you to demonstrate how the patient is improving functionally. I would also indicate and document improvement in activities of daily living. Don't use terms like patient feels a little better. Tell me when they're feeling better, what does that mean? Can they sit longer? Are they sleeping more comfortably? Can they get in and out of a chair? Can they drive their car? Can they turn their head? So you'll see the focus here is focus on the patient's abilities and increase in those as a result of care. Also indicate, of course, any decrease in pain-related meds. Obviously, as a doctor of chiropractic, we're not going to tell people not to take their medication. But at the same token, they're going to come in and tell you, hey, I used to take 2 a day, 3 a day. Now I'm taking 1 a week. That's a major, major difference. So the VA really relies on chiropractors demonstrating that the patient is getting better by significant pain intensity decrease, but more important, give me function. This is going to be what a standard authorization will look like. This is one through Triwest, but you'll see the same thing through Healthnet or through the community network. And I'm going to have you note here, it says the same things I just noted. Notice significant pain, functional improvement. But at the very bottom, you're going to notice it says outpatient, you get 1 new patient visit. And notice they give you a range, 99201 to 205. So assuming they're new, you can certainly use one of those codes. But then you'll notice it gives 11 visits where you'll say, can I do a re-exam every visit? I want to caution you. You are not going to do a re-exam every visit. Certainly as part of your manipulation, you are going to do a level of evaluation, but that's included in the chiropractic code. What this would be for, though, in my opinion, when a patient needs a more frequent exam, which could be possible, but also think along the lines, you can bill an E&M code when counseling dominates the encounter. So let's say the patient comes in and they want to discuss with you their sleep habits. They have some issues with constipation due to the pain medication, you name it. That time you spent counseling could be coded with an E&M code. Again, not every day, but certainly when counseling dominates the encounter. But what I do want to point out is that what they say for chiropractic, what is covered? Covered services include the following codes. Notice massage, manual therapy, and of course, these codes are for osteopathic manipulation, so we won't bother with that because as chiropractors, of course, we're going to do chiropractic manipulation. So I think the 3 things to note here is massage, manual therapy, and chiropractic manipulation. And notice it gives the choice of whichever code you like. You would bill just simply accordingly. Make sure it's appropriate. If there's only one area, of course, it's a 98940, but don't be afraid to include as part of your care plan some massage or manual therapy. Do remember the massage and manual therapy do require modifier 59 for separate reimbursement. The good news is this is a service I think it's finally given a chance for veterans to get care that can really be helpful and be one that they can help right at the time of the day. But more importantly, I think it gives us a chance as chiropractors to shine. Imagine after this system's been in place and these patients are coming to us as doctors of chiropractic, how much faster and better they're getting with care. I think that's going to be reflected, and we should see an increase in the allowance of this because it's just simply saving the system so much money. Because going to a chiropractor, as we all well know, is much, much cheaper. So again, if you get the 12 visits, can you request more? Absolutely, but not until the 12 visits are done. Show me the patient can improve. And most of these patients are very, very chronic. So to summarize it, VA Choice, great program, but make sure your veterans are aware. Most have no idea. The other is make sure you're in the network. West Coast, Triwest. If you're in the Midwest, upper or East Coast, of course, it is currently Healthnet, soon to change to the community care network, if you will, of the local VA. These are going to be great patients. They will love you, of course. They may even have other insurance, and the VA can act as a secondary, which means this patient will likely have nothing out of pocket. What a great patient to have. In fact, I would argue one VA patient is probably worth many of your so-called PPO patients due to the rates that they pay. So I hope this information has been helpful. Please take a look, H.J. Ross Company, for seminars in coding. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. You can check for us for all types of promotions. We're here to help, as is ChiroSecure, and I'm real thankful for you spending some time with us. I hope that your practice continues to thrive and get your patients better. I'm depending on you to make this profession shine in the way that we all believe that it should. Thanks for spending some time. I'll see you next time. And next week's host is going to be Sherry McAllister. So stay tuned for next week.